Post-match chat with chaps for that Millwall podcast. We're finished at the Hawthorns. West Bromwich Albion 0, Millwall 0. And I would have taken that all day long before the game. For those of you that listened to Joe and I's takeover, we both said, if it meant that we were just peppered for 90 minutes constantly, not getting out of our half, but it meant we got a point and it stopped them beating us and gaining ground on us and kept it in our hands, which is the key, we'd have taken it all day long. We got the point, but the performance was a lot better than that. And at times I felt we possibly could have even gone on and taken all three. A performance we should be really pleased with. Against a good side, particularly at home. Their last 11 games at home, they've won 10, drawn 1. They very rarely batter teams in terms of 3-4-5-0, but they have a style of play and a way of beating teams at home. And for us to come away from that game yesterday with the amount of pressure on it, again, still a threadbare squad. None of the other sort of boys that have been out injured, Mitchell, Bennett, etc., coming back into it. I think we should be really, really pleased. And I thought there were some really good performances in there, which we will absolutely get on to. And for me, it's my birthday weekend, so I said to the missus, she said, what do you want? I said 3 points. She got me a point. So look, we'll take that all day long. And we now go into games against Luton and Hull, where we need to be looking for ideally 6 points, but 4 at the very least. So look, let's get into the game against West Brom then. So first of all, in terms of the team that changed, as I mentioned, not a lot of new bodies coming back into the mix for us to think about changing too much. But Rowett made one change. So he took out Vogelsummer and put in Duncan Watmore. Of course, this week Vogelsummer's had his contract extended for next year. He's played enough games to trigger that extra year. I think he deserves it. I think he does blow hot and cold, but I think he affects games. And we'll talk a bit about Watmore's contribution yesterday, but I think you could tell, we haven't quite solidified for me who should start on that left-hand side. But that was the one change for us. For West Brom, they made some interesting changes. So I think that Daryl DK dropped out, which was a bit of a surprise, and Thomas Asante came in, who I thought was excellent, by the way. I think he was a thorn in our side the whole game. But of course, they've got quality in the team. They've got John Swift, who has been Reading's talisman now for a number of years. Quality player at this level. We all know about Jed. Yokuslu is a fantastic player. So they've got some real quality players, and I'm sure they've probably got one of the biggest budgets in the league. So to go there, take a point, I think we should be really, really pleased. Anyway, let's get into the game. And in terms of, I thought the first 15 minutes, I thought we looked really good, actually. I felt that they couldn't really string many passes together. I felt we were pressing them nicely. There was one sort of half chance where some nice play from sort of Saville. He sort of steps out with a ball, feeds Bradshaw. He sort of tries to play a 1-2 with Fleming. It doesn't just come off, but we were playing some sort of nice stuff. Where the best chance came from Bradshaw from a long Leonard throw. It's almost like a corner, direct into the box. And to be honest, Bradshaw should do better. He gets there first and headers it over the bar. And it's one of those sort of half chances that I think, if we had a real prolific goal scorer, and this is not a slight on Bradders, I absolutely love the bloke. We had a real prolific goal scorer. Maybe yesterday we would have taken some of these chances, and that was one of them. But the first 15 minutes, I thought we were on top. I thought, we were in control. That's the way I would kind of summarise it. But then I think after that point, they started to grow into it, and I think most of the rest of the first half was predominant. I mean, they weren't all over us. They didn't pepper us. It wasn't that, but they sort of seemed to take control of the rest of the first half. As I say, I think there was a couple of times where Santi Thomas sort of does Cresswell up down the left hand side, plays it in and reach. I think it was around 17 minutes. Plays it just wide of the post. That was a chance. Then there was we played some of our set pieces yesterday, which I'll come on to later. I just don't get what we're doing. We try. I guess we're trying to mix it up, right? But we do that, and we play a ball over to the edge of the box for Leonard to come on and hit it. But what ends up happening, they end up breaking with Jed, and have a really good opportunity from that. I can't recall exactly how it went. I haven't got it in my notes, but that was another one. And then there was another opportunity for West Brom where Cooper, the ball's played down the line. Cooper gets there first. I think it's against Furlong. Sort of knocks it past him, and he could quite easily stop the ball from going out of play and just launch it back up the line. But what he does is he feels the very slightest of touches from Furlong and falls to the floor. He's never going to get a foul like that, Coops. You're never going to get that, mate. He doesn't, and then they have a really good chance. I think the ball was then whipped in from Jed. And a really, really good, I think, block from Cooper who makes up and redeems himself. And I'll come on to my player ratings, but I thought Cooper was immense yesterday. But I think that ultimately the first half, after that sort of 15-minute period, I felt we were, without being, massively overrun, I thought they were the better side. I think the majority of their chances came in the first half. I do think we should have had a penalty in the first half. It was a foul on Cooper on 35. I think Millwall have even done a TikTok video about it because it's getting a joke now, isn't it? What has Cooper got to do to get a penalty? But for me, that was a penalty. I've seen it back a few times. That's a penalty. You got literally two geezers just sort of grabbing him round. So, but the rest of the first half, as I say, they were largely on top. A couple of times, George Long has to come and sort of punch it clear. A couple of times he does really well, where he gets a lot of yardage on it. There was one time where he didn't, and I felt that again, little things like that make them grow in confidence. But wouldn't say they had anything massively clear cut. A couple of times, Danny Mack, I felt in the first half made some really good choices in terms of defending. There was one point where the ball came across, and it's sort of bobbling around, and he has to sort of decide whether to commit or not to. He doesn't dive in. He wins the ball, and then he sort of gets up and goes again and makes another really good challenge. And then I think Leonard uses his experience to sort of draw another foul in and win a foul, and it relieves the pressure. But it's little things like that Danny Mack does that he's really growing as a player. I think Danny Mack a year or two ago would have rushed in there and potentially given away a foul or a penalty or whatever. And there was another time as well in the first half where they broke. I think it might have been from that corner I was referring to, where Danny Mack again just composure, assesses the situation, doesn't dive in, and he manages to sort of hold them up so that we can get back. So I just want to give a shout out for Danny Mack, because I thought there was a few things that he did yesterday that may go unnoticed, but I thought defensively he was very, very, very good yesterday. I felt that our wide men did nothing in the first half, particularly Watmore. I felt he was out-muscled a lot of times. He looked a little bit lost, if I'm honest. But I think he'll know that. I think it's probably a sign of a player that's not had much minutes. But I watched Rowett's post-match interview after, and the whole point of him playing was to get us up the pitch a little bit more. But unfortunately, it didn't really work out yesterday. But look, we go in at half-time. Yes, they've had the better of the chances. They've had the better of the play. But 0-0 and not bundles in it, I wouldn't say. And then the second half, I have to say, I thought we were the better side and we had the much better chances. They had a couple of opportunities early on with Asante Thomas. Shot from distance goes over the bar, but Long doesn't have to do anything. They had another chance nearer the end where an absolutely superb bit of defending from Cooper. It's going in, but I think it hits his face, actually. Blocks it. I think Jed does Murray down the line. Ball back across. Someone in the box has a shot, and I think it literally smacks Cooper in the face. But do not underestimate, as I say, little things like that they're as good as a goal. They're as good as a goal. In terms of us, it was frustrating because we had a period of sort of 20, 30 minutes where I thought we were really, really good and we looked in control. And just take a step back for a second, right? And we're now fifth in the league, but we were sixth going into this game. We're going to West Brom, and we had large periods of yesterday where I genuinely felt that we're in control of the game against a very, very good side. It's just that just shows you how far we've come to be able to do this against teams like this. And I think it has to be commended. I really do. sometimes I think, we sort of get too into where we are and where we expect to be. But to go to places like West Brom and to really control against a very, very good side and a very expensive side, I think needs to be commended. But as I say, there was a sort of 25-30 minute spell in the second half where I felt we were on top. The game got a bit stretched. You could almost tell that the atmosphere was building and the sort of nervousness in the stadium from the home fans was building, because obviously they knew they had to beat us yesterday in order to put it in their control. And it just the tide seemed to turn. If we could have got a goal then, I mean, it's all ifs, buts and maybes, and we take the point 100%. But we had 3 chances that I can remember that I've written down. We had a Honeyman chance, which is probably half a chance. We had a Bradshaw header from when they were moaning about their player being down with a head injury. I don't think it was a head injury. I think it was he hit him in the face or something like that. But there was that. And then the best chance we had was a Fleming. So some good play, I think, between Danny Mack, Leonard, Burke in the build-up. Finds it to Fleming again. He drives, has a shot, and it stings the palms of the goalkeeper. You expect him to save that. If he'd have put it either side, I think that could have changed the game. But it ended up being just a sort of a stinger of a shot from Fleming. But I think for that 25-30 minute period, considering the opposition, that's as well as we played away from home. I genuinely think it was. We didn't score, but we were in control against a very good side, and I thought we were great. And if we could have taken one of those chances, the Fleming one or the Bradshaw one, to be fair, good play. Murray Wallace feeds in, Saville down the left-hand side. Saville again, little things like that, getting that burst of energy to sort of come out of midfield and overlap our left back, puts a superb ball in. Bradshaw, near post header, keeper saves it again. You expect him to make those saves, and wouldn't say it was an easy chance for Bradders, but between that and the Fleming chance, they're 2 real good opportunities, to be honest with you, which we could have taken on another day. But look, I don't really recall any other huge chances for them. There was a penalty shout, so I'll just talk a little bit about this. So Leonard loses out in the middle of the park. I think the ball sort of bounces over him. He then sort of gets back and he makes a superb tackle, old-fashioned tackle. He kind of goes through the player a little bit. Maybe it was a foul, don't know. Certainly wasn't a penalty, though, and I'll come on to that in a moment. Sort of goes through the player, great tackle, but essentially plays in DK. And there's a sort of, because the tackle's so sort of hard, it goes from the halfway line and it's going just to the penalty box, and you've kind of got DK and Long sort of running towards this ball. It's like, who's going to get there first? I've seen it back on many different angles. For me, it's not a penalty. I actually think he makes contact with the ball, and I think Long does really well there. However, it's given as offside. It was never offside because it was Leonard that played the ball through. It wasn't offside. It wasn't a penalty. Possibly could have been a foul from Leonard. In my opinion, it isn't a foul, but the way football is nowadays, some referees would give it. But it certainly wasn't a penalty. So any West Brom fans listen to this, I'd love to know your view. But for me, it wasn't a penalty. And if it was, as I've already said, we should have had one in the first half. I thought overall, I know I've just criticised the referee there on 2 decisions, but I thought overall, he let the game flow. It was a competitive game. With the atmosphere and all the stakes going on he could have made some stupid decisions. He didn't. For example, a superb professional taking one for the team from Sav in the second half. He knew exactly what he was doing. Things like that. The referee assesses it and doesn't, it's at the end of the day, it's a booking. He doesn't think it's any more, blah, blah, blah. I thought the referee overall did a fairly decent job, and I don't normally talk about referees, as you know. But again, that's a great example from Sav of knowing, just being a leader and knowing when to do things, when not to. I thought Sav was immense as well yesterday. I think that's all I'm going to say on the game itself. We ended up with, I think, even amount of shots, and I actually think we ended up having 4 shots on target to their 1. So you've gone to a team that haven't lost at home for 11 games. They've won 10 of those 11 games, and you've limited them to one shot on target. That, to me, especially in the context of the squad they've got, how threadbare ours is, I think you've got to be really, really pleased for that. I'm personally really, really pleased with that point, and it's something that now we can build on. It's a clean sheet, and it should give the whole everyone confidence. And seriously, like, we need to get down to Luton on Friday. We need to make that atmosphere as fierce as we can make it. Let's get it packed and sold out, and let's beat Luton, because obviously Luton beat Watford again. Overall results went our way. Blackburn lost, Coventry lost, Norwich lost. Obviously our result. Sunderland only got a point. I think they're kind of out of it now. Coventry got battered 4-0. Middlesbrough lost 4-2 at Huddersfield, and then you start to think maybe Huddersfield aren't a bad side under Warnock. So it's such a weird league, and it's a weird and wonderful league, and that's why we love it, right? Because anyone can beat anyone. But we've got 7 games left, 4 at home, 3 away, and I genuinely think if we win our 4 home games, that gives us 12 points, and it gives us 12 points against Luton and Blackburn, we're in the playoffs. I genuinely think that. I think if we get to, I think we're on 61 now, so it would take us to 73 points, and we would have beaten Luton and Blackburn. So you win your 4 home games, and it almost don't matter what happens away at Hull, Wigan and Blackpool. In my opinion, don't know, but I think that would be enough. So it really is all to play for, and what a privileged position to be where we are at the moment. I think it's just representative of everything coming together. The fans are really bought into what's going on. Every single game is like sold out. I think Rowett is seeing what Rowett's bringing. Rowett's seeing what we're bringing. The players are giving everything. And this is the thing, for a club like us and the finances and the kind of facilities we have, for us to be in the position we are, everything has to be performing 10 out of 10. The players have to be, we have to be contributing, the manager has to be brought into it. Everything has to be going in the right way for us, because if it's not, we don't have the quality as some of the other teams do. But the minute it is, and it's setting up for a really exciting end of the season. I personally can't wait. I'll be at Luton and I will be at Hull. It's my first away for a long time, so I'm really looking forward to actually going to that game. Hopefully see a few of you there. Right, I'm gonna do a couple of observations, and then I'm gonna do my first take on player ratings, which I've said before. I'm a little bit nervous because you It's just my take on it, and also I think what I may say is a 6 out of 10. Someone else may think is a 5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. What does a 6 out of 10 mean to you? So, but look, I'll give it a go, see where we go. But anyway, some observations first of all. I felt our set pieces yesterday were poor overall. That's something I think we need to look at, because we get ourselves into really good positions, and when you also think about we have our corners, and now with Leonard's throw, we almost have a corner every time we have a throw in the sort of the last 20 yards. I think we need to maximise and capitalise on those a little bit more. That was one observation. Second observation, Corberon, don't shut up moaning. Honestly, I couldn't have him as a manager. Like, it's like all about me sort of thing. And his voice don't match his appearance either. But yeah, West Brom, I'd love to know your thoughts on him. Of course, at the end of the day, he's come and done a great job for you, so I'm sure that you think very highly of him. You've got a very unique style on him, by the way. I think it's a very patient build-up, but you either really slow, patient build-up using your quality technical players on the ball, which you've got quite a few of, or it's kind of hit them on the counter with Jed, which seems to be your two ways of attacking. I think you're quite solid defensively in terms of you slip into your structure pretty much straight away. And I think our styles, although you're better players than us, I think our styles are at times a little bit similar. But anyway, that was one observation. Another observation, I felt that Rowett got it tactically spot on yesterday. You even heard Saville in the post-match say we had a clear game plan and we executed it, and we did. I thought we were great in terms of tactically yesterday. We knew when to press, when not to. And I felt that we dealt with their danger men pretty well, other than Brandon Asante-Thomas, who I thought was West Brom's best player by a mile, including Jed, by the way. I thought he was their best player by a mile, and he's exactly what I think we're missing, if I'm honest. He's quick, he's strong, he's just a pain in the arse to defend against. So he works hard, he's got all of that, but he's also got that real bit of quality about him in terms of he's quite clever. Amount of times he's sort of twist turn, like time I referenced in the first half with Cresswell. Seems to have a decent shot on him as well. I thought he was really good. I thought he caused us problems all day. So he's definitely sort of one to watch for me, and I'm surprised DK's been getting in ahead of him, because DK's got something about him, but from what I've seen, I have to say I think Asante-Thomas is better. And that's it. I think they're my sort of key observations. I've written here, Ollie Burt jumps too early. He does. Whenever he goes up for header, he seems to jump 10 minutes before anyone else. But yeah, random observation. Anyway, all right. So my ratings. So I've given Long a 7. He did mess up one punch in the first half, which could have been costly. It wasn't. So I almost considered putting him at 6. But I think overall, there were some sort of scrambles where he had to make saves. A couple of times he did punch it, and whilst you sometimes wanted him to catch it, he did get a lot of distance on it. Again, his kicking takes us up the pitch, and although the referee had already blown for offside, to come out and make the challenge on DK, which I thought was a good one personally, I thought Long did well. So I'll give Long a 7. I thought Danny Mack was a 7, could have been more, but it's just his attacking at times lets him down with some of his crossing. There was one time in the second half where he absolutely busted a gut to get there, and he put a cross in, it went straight behind for a goal kick. That's the bit he needs to work on, and he knows that. I think I was listening to the commentary, and Max McLennan was saying that Danny Mack knows that and he's working really hard on it. So, but I thought his defending and some of his decision making yesterday was outstanding. So 7.5 for Danny Mack. I thought he was really, really good. Murray Wallace did some of his usual Wallacinho sort of heel turns and flicks and stuff like that, and I thought largely he had a decent game. I think a couple of times Jed Wallace did do him, and I felt a lot of their attacking play in the first half came down the left hand side. Can't say whether it was Muzza specifically, but it did seem to come down the left hand side. But I thought overall he was okay. Again, at times the final ball into the box could be improved. So I'm going to give Muzza a 6.5. Thought he was okay, nothing special. Just a couple of times at crucial times, Jed did do him for pace, particularly almost at the end where Cooper made that superb block. Cresswell, I've given a 7. I thought, wasn't outstanding, but I think he did what he had to do today. A couple of really good sort of defensive moments in the second half, and then a couple of lapses in the first half. I think that DK gave him something to think about when he came on, and obviously ended up with a cut eye, so hopefully he's okay for Friday. But I thought Cresswell was largely solid. Then I'm going to talk about 3 players that I've given all of them an 8. And I think you can probably take your pick for man of the match. First one is Jake Cooper, who I thought was outstanding. I have to say, when Hutch came out of the team and he was given the captain's armband, whenever I've seen Cooper without Hutch, he's looked half the player, and I've always said he's not a leader. And I couldn't be more delighted to be wrong. I thought he was, again, superb yesterday, and he's growing in confidence and growing as a leader all the time. I'll talk about Player of the Year in a bit. I'll come back to that. I want to talk about Player of the Year. But Cooper's just been outstanding all season, if I'm honest. And his contract is up at the end of next summer, not this summer. And I think it's vital that we get him signed up to a new deal. I thought Cooper was immense yesterday. Saville is just our general. He's our midfield general. He's been asked to play a very different role to the one that he's played previously in his career. And I think he is superb in that role. He just controls the pace of the game. He he knows when to go and when not to. As I said, he was overlapping at times yesterday. He makes some of those professional fouls, which these things are important because they change the complexion of the game. He's our leader in the middle of the park, and you have to have a real strong spine, and he's absolutely vital to that. And I thought, again, yesterday he was immense. Equally, I thought Ryan Leonard was immense yesterday. And I think he's been really good since he's come back into the side. I thought that he's just got some engine on him. He really has. He breaks play up. He gets his body in the way. He wins a lot of fouls. Really good at. He just seems to cover every blade of grass. And Leonard and Saville complement each other really, really well, because I don't think Saville has got the engine that Leonard has, but then Saville has got the leadership and the sort of brain and the sort of better footballing ability, if you like. Whereas Leonard is more. He's a sort of person that is just must be horrible to play against, because he's everywhere, always, constantly. But I thought Leonard was superb yesterday. So Cooper, Saville and Leonard, I gave all of them an 8. I've given Fleming a 7. I felt that, again, a lot of our attacking play comes through him. I don't think he wasn't as quiet as he was in the Huddersfield game, but he wasn't sort of front and centre for me. But he was never going to be. I don't think in sort of a game like yesterday. But I've given him a 7. Honeyman, I've given a 7 as well. I thought, again, he worked tirelessly. I don't think he offered too much going forward other than the chance he had in the second half. But again, don't underestimate his off the ball work, the way he's part of that sort of defensive unit. I know he's a winger, but that's just how we play, particularly when we go at games like that. So I thought Honeyman was good. Watmore, I've given a 5. I feel a bit awkward because I sponsor Duncan Watmore, and I had a chat with him literally a week ago. But I call it out as I see it, and I thought he was poor. I felt he couldn't get in the game. I felt he couldn't impose his game at all. I thought he was too weak at times. He was out-muscled, and he looked frustrated with himself. And I think he'll be better for that experience and he'll learn from it. But I felt it wasn't his best game. And Bradshaw, I've given a 6. Purely because he did have a couple of opportunities which, I'm not saying he should have scored, but he probably could have done better with. But he did what he always does, works his absolute tits off for the team, gets him some good positions. His overall play was decent. I've just marked him down a point probably from sort of, if I was to say on average, everyone was kind of like a 7, but it was just obviously with the missed opportunities, I knocked him down to a 6. I'm not going to do the subs because I would literally be here all day. So that was my sort of player ratings. Do you agree? Do you disagree? As I said, football's a game of opinions. It wouldn't be football if we didn't all have. If we all had the same opinion, there'll be no point in football, right? So that's why we love it. And then just final point on Player of the Year. Before Billy Mitchell got injured, I was like, it's Billy Mitchell. I don't even need to think about it. If I'm honest, now I struggle. And at the end of, not in the season, we haven't done that yet. At the player sponsorship thing on my table, I sort of went round and asked, including Watmore and Bennett, who were on my table, just said, who's your Player of the Year? And everyone gave a different answer. And I think that says a lot, to be honest, because there's a lot of players I think are playing well. The ones for me, I think, obviously with Mitchell being injured, it's difficult. I think that Cooper's got to be in the mix. I think Sav 100% has to be in the mix. Fleming will be, because of his goal contributions, as will Bradshaw probably be in the mix. And then I don't think Mitchell's early season form can go unnoticed. But it's like, who do you pick? If someone put a gun to me right now and said you had to pick one, I would probably pick Sav or Coops. That's probably what I pick at the moment. So just what I mentioned, that I'd be interested to hear your opinions. You know, if you had to, well, you will have to vote very soon. So who would be your player of the season so far? But anyway, this has gone on for almost half hour, and I'm hungover anyway. But I'm about to go to the pub for a few more birthday celebrations. So cheers. Hopefully see some of you down the Den against Luton, and then some of you up at Hull to Hull and back. I'm sure that's a famous Only Fools and Horses episode. But look, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we're sitting 5th. We're 5th. Millwall 5th with 7 games to go. just take that in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.